The Ames Board of Trustee meeting, October 9th, 2024. Would you please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to another great fall day. First up, we have our approval of the agenda. If somebody would like to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Trustee O'Hare. Thank you, Trustee Wendell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The agenda is set. We have one consent agenda item, the minutes of September 11th, 2024, our district board meeting. Again, I would ask for a motion to approve. A second? I second that. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll do one more check on public comment. We do not have a public comment today, so we'll get right into our number 6 with presentations from our guests and representatives to the board. First up is Excellence at Ames with Dana Jones, our Assistant Dean of Students.
Good afternoon, Chair Schock. Are we not on? Good afternoon, Chair Schock, trustees, Dr. Rotherberg, and guests. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Tobiah Howell. He is already completed the Emergency Medical Technician Certificate, the Basic Firefighter Certificate, and the Fighter 1 Certificate with us here at Ames. He's currently working on his Associate of Applied Fire Science degree and is on par to graduate in December of 2025. We often encourage our students to find their why. Toby was hurt last year at a training accident here at Ames, and so he really had to work to find his why, and he's going to share with you now his story about that and folks here at Ames who helped him reach his goals.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me come up here and share my experience and opportunity. I want to start off by saying I graduated high school in 2022, and like most high schoolers, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. My girlfriend suggested firefighting, so I met with one of my best friend's dad, who was a firefighter here in Greeley. I met with him and toured the station, and I absolutely fell in love with it and knew that it was meant for me. Everyone told me that my next step was to get my EMT, and everybody suggested that I go to Ames. So I signed up for the 2023 Summer Ames EMT program. That is when I first met Instructor Scala. She teaches the EMT Academy here at Ames, and she's an amazing person. She guided me through EMT and was just an amazing mentor. And then after EMT, I didn't know what the next step was, and she told me to go into Fire Academy. So that's where I went into Fire Academy. That is where I first met Chief Willits. For those of you who don't know him, he runs the night program here for Fire Academy. I was a little scared of him at first. Then I discovered how big of a heart he really has. Everything was going good for Fire Academy all the way up until November. I had 4 weeks left till I graduated, and when I had a training accident on November 9th. We were practicing pulling a victim out of a second-story window, and I was on a ladder, and I lost balance and fell about 14 feet and ended up breaking my leg. That was definitely a pretty traumatic night for me, and I don't really remember a whole lot from it, but I do remember thinking to myself, what's next for me and how am I going to do this? The next morning, Chief McDougall called me, and he kind of runs the fire science program here at Ames. And he told me that he was going to make sure I got through this. And he kept true to his word. I was able to pass the written exams that following December in 2023, and they allowed me to come back the following semester of 2024. And so I came back to Academy in spring and was able to finish out the physical portion that I needed. I was able to graduate in May, and I became a certified firefighter in May. On my very first night of Academy back in 2023, in August, they asked you what your why is, why you want to be here. And I didn't know my why, but I knew that I was meant to be there. After I broke my leg, I really struggled to find what my why was and why I was supposed to be here. I had lots of really hard nights physically and mentally at Academy. I didn't know if it was meant for me. I didn't know if I was still supposed to be here, and I really just didn't know anymore. But after graduating, I finally found my way. When I broke my leg, I did it in probably the best environment possible, surrounded by a bunch of firefighters. Chief Willits and all the other instructors made that night a whole lot easier for me. They made sure, they just made it a lot less traumatic for me, and they were there to comfort me a lot. Getting the opportunity to help someone on their worst day and ease their pain as much as my pain was eased is why I want to be a firefighter. I would have not discovered my why without the help from the amazing staff at Ames. And I'd just like to thank Chief McDougall and Chief Riedel, who gave the opportunity to come back to Academy and finish it out. Allison Dumler, who is a counselor here at Ames, she helped me get through all my mental blocks. Instructor Scala, she really showed me compassion, helped me through more than she'll ever know. And then Chief Willits always motivated me when I felt defeated and I didn't know what my next step was. I just want to thank all of them and everybody else that helped me through that traumatic experience and made me who I am today and helped me find my way. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming up and sharing, your story with us. And you're the reason why we all exist and Ames exists. And I think the story you told us about the why, I think it's a good story for you, a good story for all of us. And remember that you're going to be asking that question to yourself all the time. And I think you'll use everything you've learned here in order to do that through the rest of your life. And continue to pay it forward, because I think that's the kind of guy you are, it sounds like. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Great story. And this continues to show what Ames puts forth and the students that are coming out of here. Pretty amazing. We'll go to our representatives to the board. First up, we have the Ames Faculty Association with Ryan Reed.
Chair Schock, trustees, Dr. Rothmer, guests. I always have a hard time following up because you guys always have the great student stories, and it's just amazing. I think that to remember that that's why, like you had mentioned, that's why we're all here is for the students. And over the course of the last year, I've had the privilege of presenting a lot of different faculty to you guys who, once again, I selected those because of their contribution to the students and their excellent contribution to Ames. And I continue to do that with welding last time and all the amazing things that they were doing with their continuing ed. And so this time I'm like, I've been around for about a year. And so it was time for me to introduce you guys to my team. And so today, the faculty that I want to recognize and I want to bring before you guys is the team that I get to work with on a daily basis. So today I want to introduce you to the medical assisting, the phlebotomy, and health science team. This team is made up of 5 full-time faculty and 7 part-time faculty. Our full-time faculty represent more than 62 years of service at Ames and more than 70 years of clinical and industry experience. Including our part-time faculty, we pool more than 220 years of combined industry experience and expertise. Our department showcases the purpose of the CTE programs by providing 3 distinct short-term certificates: medical clinical assisting, medical front office, and phlebotomy. And pending your guys' decision next month, medical billing and coding. All of these are designed to provide real-world skills that can be transferred into employment in a ever-booming healthcare industry in less than 8 months. In addition to the certificate programs, we also house the Allied Health Professional Associates of Applied Science degree. The small team of faculty will instruct this year more than 380 credits worth of classes, serve more than 500 students, and help more than 100 students to start their careers in the healthcare industry. We are active in our community with more than 25 industry partners that help us to provide a diverse experience for our students. As a department chair, I love the team that I get to work with, and so I told them that I was going to brag on them a little bit today, so a couple of them were able to make it. But our 5 full-time faculty that we have serve selflessly to our students at any time that's asked of them. We were looking at our schedule from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock on Saturdays. There is never more than a 30-minute block that one or more of our faculty aren't teaching classes. We have taken on the call of Ames to be available when students need us by providing classes during the day, at night, and even on the weekends. So now let me introduce you to my faculty. Some of them weren't able to be here because, like I said, we're on campus teaching 24/7. So the first I'd like to mention, she's here today, Stephanie Wood. This is Stephanie. Stephanie is our most senior faculty with more than 11 years of experience at Ames. Stephanie graduated with the Ames Allied Health Professional degree. She serves as our lead faculty and teaches for the medical assisting and phlebotomy certificates. Without her, we would be in a lot of trouble because she helps us out a lot and she picks up a lot of the slack. She advises for our program as well, and she also has taken on many of the duties of a program coordinator. She is one of the most selfless individuals I've ever met, and she is always one of the first ones to step up for the infamous other duties as assigned. She works tirelessly with our clinical partners to maintain good relationships and seek out new opportunities. Stephanie is always the one asking questions, what can we do better? Shannon Everett, she's not here today. She is our next one in line with 6 years of full-time experience here at Ames and nearly 10 years of part-time experience prior to that. In addition to her teaching responsibilities, Shannon has taken on much of the responsibilities of a lab coordinator. She takes charge of our inventory, supply ordering for programs, and making sure that everything is stocked and prepared for our labs. Shannon is an amazing team player and is always willing to take on additional class assignments when needed. In some semesters, she's even taking on more than 6 or 7 different class preparations in one semester. Tracy Gary is our next one. She has been with Ames longer than anybody else in our department. She's actually covering for me today, teaching one of my classes. With more than 24 years of continuous part-time service before coming on full-time 2 years ago, Tracy brings a wealth of experience to our team. Tracy has a master's degree in counseling and also has been a registered dietitian in clinical practice for more than 25 years. Tracy is quite possibly one of the best instructors that I've ever encountered. The level of preparation that she puts into her courses to make them active and engaging for our students is incredible. Tracy has the heart of a servant, and she is always going above and beyond to make both her students and other members of our team feel special and welcome. Last but not least, Lacey. Lacey is our newbie. She joined us a year ago. I don't know if she was quite ready for what she was getting into. She's been drinking from a fire hose for the last year. She also is a graduate of our medical assisting program. She was hired on a year ago and hit the ground running. She's disciplined and organized and has been instrumental in redesigning many of our classes. As a new instructor, I'm impressed at the level of innovation that she has brought to the team. She pushes the team to stay relevant and is constantly working with industry members to make sure that we are teaching what is happening in the profession. She has introduced several new teaching tools and technologies to our team and helps to engage our students. Alongside her rigorous first-year teaching schedule, she has also managed to fulfill her mentorship, her online teaching, and all of her CTE credentials within her first year. So as you can see, I'm super proud of our team. We're hoping to continue to grow. Our programs continue to grow and develop, and definitely something that I couldn't do without the service and the commitment from all of my faculty. So once again, it's the faculty for our medical assisting, phlebotomy, and health science programs. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Stephanie and Lacey. I think those are the two that you said were here.
Yes.
To stand. You guys just were really quiet back there. Thank you. Great. Next up, we have our Ames Staff Association with David Mark.
All right, good afternoon. Chairperson Shaw, sorry. Trustees, Dr. Rothmer, cabinet, colleagues and friends. For this month's presentation, I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. We'll see how I do. I've only got 4 items though, so I think I got a good shot. So we'll start quickly. Update number 1 is I mentioned in our last meeting that we had a member retire from Ames, and so she fell off of the leadership team. That was Nan, and so we were able to find a replacement, and that is Michelle Bird from this campus. So Michelle is our new ASA leadership team rep from the Windsor campus. So we're excited to have Michelle on, and she jumped right in yesterday for our leadership team planning meeting. So Michelle's already up and running with us, so that's great. Update number 2, we did, I think I mentioned last month that we did put out a survey to all of the staff of how we can better serve the staff as ASA. We got those results back, and out of the 550 or however many, whatever that number I told you guys last month, we had 130 respondents. So that's over 20%, which is pretty phenomenal. So we got a ton of great feedback from that effort. I'm gonna give you 4 quick highlights. First, the survey results indicate that we can do a better job of advocating for part-time staff, remote staff, and the satellite campuses. Second, that we can do a better job communicating of the purpose of ASA. Why do we even exist? What do we do? Third, that we can better represent, that ASA can do a better job of representing staff needs to college admin at various levels. And then fourthly, that we just got a ton of great event feedback and ideas. So we're really excited to get that feedback and actually put it into practice. And so great segue into my third item for this presentation is our next event, which is this Friday. We are hosting our all AIMS or all staff monthly meeting in person at the Fort Lupton campus. So that's at 9 o'clock. I mentioned that last month. I did charter a van from our fleet, so I'm informally calling it the ASA party bus. So if you haven't already signed up, we're about half full, so there's still room. And we're leaving from the Greeley campus to drive down to Fort Lupton campus for that meeting. And that meeting is hybrid, like that's our new standard moving forward. That it's both in person and Zoom. So if you can't make it in person, please, we look forward to seeing you all there on Friday. So taking that feedback and immediately putting it into practice, we are actually adding to our all staff ASA meetings a mobile gym store. So we're going to, if most of you know what the gym store is, I'm actually going to pick up some stuff from Rachel tomorrow and take it down with us to the satellite campuses so that staff can utilize that perk of being an employee at Ames, but in a mobile capacity. So that's us, like I said, immediately pivoting and putting some of the feedback immediately into action. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, and then my last item for today is a ripple. And as you saw in your packets, there's a ton. This is a strong month of ripples. It was actually kind of hard to pick just one to highlight. I would personally would have liked to highlight 4 of them, but the one I selected is Jocelyn Salis. And I'm sorry, Jocelyn, if I just butchered your last name. But Jocelyn is the staff associate over in automotive. And she was nominated, and actually, I don't know if it's anonymous or it wasn't listed on the report. So I don't know who submitted this. So thank you to whoever did submit it. We thank you, appreciate it. And I'm just going to read the last paragraph of this highlight. So, Jocelyn, your efforts to organize and coordinate these classroom visits have made a significant impact, and we couldn't be more grateful. On behalf of Career Services, thank you, capital thank you, for your dedication, hard work, and passion for helping students succeed. Your contributions are deeply appreciated. So thank you, Jocelyn. Keep up the good work, and good job, AIMS staff. Keep up the good work. Thank you all. That's my presentation. Stand for questions.
Thanks, Eric. Any questions or comments?
What is the GEM store?
So GEM, it's an acronym for Going the Extra Mile, and it's a program of the CPD, the Professional Development, and so it's a recognition. Employees can recognize one another and give gems. So the gem, it's actually, we have literal wooden tokens. One's virtual, and then the gem store is a location in Cornerstone that we set up 2 or 3 years ago now. And as you collect more tokens, you can actually take those and redeem them for different merchandise items, swag stuff. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's in Cornerstone. So we're trying to make that mobile, like I said.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Okay, and next up for the SGA, Student Government Association, Pi Blinn.
Thank you, trustees, Chair Schock, Dr. Rothamer, cabinet members, and guests. I'm honored to be here in place of Brielle today. Into some business, SGA has scheduled public office hours in all of the student buildings throughout all campuses. We aim to raise awareness about the mission of SGA, to be their voice for advocacy, and to collect valuable student feedback and ideas on how to improve the student experience at Ames. SGA members will also be sharing progress on projects with students and gathering feedbacks on those projects. In a partnership with Facilities and Operations, SGA has started a pilot program to supply Ames students with free period products. In addition to supplying them at Artie's Pantry, menstrual products are set to be put in all gender and women's restrooms. A committee has also been formed around this project titled the Menstrual Equity Committee. SGA has also helped to staff 4 fall-ins, 1 at each campus, and Artie's Bazaar. Across all of these events, Ames has held 1,600 guests. We would like to thank everyone who volunteered. This could never have been done without you. We would also like to thank Facilities and Operations and Kelly Porter for their hard work in supporting these events. To end off this SGA report, I would like to show you all a video from the Hunger Free Campus Initiative featuring a student, Camila Elias. I hope that you all enjoy this. And I believe Camila is actually in here today. Yeah, stand on up.
Yes, a student here at Ames Community College in Greeley, Colorado. I'm currently here in the Welcome Center, and I'm super eager to show you what we have going on here on campus to boost student success and well-being. Here at Ames, we strive to create an environment where students can be empowered to succeed by providing essentials and necessities. We're working towards ending the stigma around picking pantry orders up, and thanks to grants, donors, and partnerships, Ames can give students basic needs to help them prosper. Students are able to go onto our online ordering platform to place their weekly orders. We offer opportunities to relieve the financial burden of the college experience through Artie's Pantry. Come take a look at what we have available for students. At Artie's Pantry, we have several items to help support our Hunger Free Campus initiative. It is evident that hygiene, poverty, and hunger go hand in hand, so Ames provides these items for students at all 4 of our campuses. Earlier I mentioned that we have donors that have helped us out, and Ames recently received a brand new pantry van that allows us to pick up bulk items and transport inventory to all of our campuses. Additionally, we have partnered with United Way to receive 100,000 diapers throughout the year, and the pantry van allows us to bring them back to our campuses. Our idea of the pop-up pantry van helps us bring non-perishable items to our 2 locations that don't have a physical pantry to promote inclusivity. Another way that we ensure student success and well-being is through our partnership with the Weld Food Bank. The Farms to Families food truck visits all 3 of our Weld County campuses once a month to provide fresh produce to our students. Come take a look at what we have this month. Hi everyone, we're here in front of the Farms to Families food truck, and as you can see, we have quite a few students taking advantage of this great opportunity we have for them. All they have to do is give us their student ID and then they're all set. This fall semester, we started our own cooking show to promote our Hunger Free Campus initiative. I personally came up with this idea and figured out a way that students can take advantage of the food items that they pick up at the pantry. The goal is to give the Ames community at large a resource that they can access to ensure food safety and education. Follow us on all of our social media accounts to see more of this type of content. Here at Ames, we have the Hunger Free Student Advisory Council, or the Food Sec, which meets on a weekly basis during the semester to ensure that we're aligning our values around the Hunger Free Campus initiative. We hit topics around the pantry, our cooking show, and what we can do for students experiencing food insecurity. And these are the many ways that we've created an environment for students to be victorious. We thank all of our sponsors and partnerships for enabling us to make this happen. If you'd like to learn more about Ames or are interested in becoming a student here, please visit www.ames.edu. See you around, Aardvarks.
One last thing before I leave, I would like to highlight 2 events being hosted by Student Life. On Monday of this week, National Voter Education Week started and is going until Friday to try and educate students on the democratic process in a fun and engaging way. Trick or Treat Track is happening on October 29th from 5 to 7 in the Physical Education and Recreation Center Gym and Track. The event is free and open to all Ames students, employees, and their families. Similarly to Fallen and Artie's Bazaar, this event would not be possible without the hard work of our dedicated volunteers. I'd like to thank you all again for this opportunity to present. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions or comments? Well done.
Thank you.
adjourned. There are no action items for this meeting today. So we'll move into the information items, events, calendar, and upcoming work session. And agenda items with Jerry Harvey, our famous board liaison.
Thank you, Chair Schock. First, we'll go ahead and cover the board calendar of events. You'll see in your packet, it's a relatively small list, but I will say in your Friday weekly email that'll be coming out this Friday, there'll be a few additional items that are coming up related to commencement and celebration week for the fall. So I'll be providing those to you starting this Friday to take a look at and add to your calendars. Next, we'll jump ahead to the November board meeting and work session. You'll see a few annual reports listed there. So the employee services and safety clery report, as well as budget assumptions from Chuck, and Ames to UNC report from SACE. That concludes that update. Are there any questions?
Doesn't look like it. We'll go ahead and move on into the 2025 Board of Trustee meeting and retreat dates.
Yes, thank you, Chair Schock. You'll see in your packet there a draft of next year's proposed retreat and meeting dates. Definitely between now and next month, when this comes back for action to the board, please take a look at your calendars and let me know if any of these dates conflict so we can move them now before they're approved. But you'll see here, all of them are set for the second Wednesday of each month, except for the ones with an asterisk beside them. So January 15th for the proposed board retreat. That's the third Wednesday of that month. And then for May, that's the first Wednesday of that month to make room for commencement. But all the rest of them are there at 1:30 and on the second Wednesday of the month.
Great. Just follow up from us is needed then.
Yes.
And next up, ACCT annual conference info.
All right. So this is coming up in a couple of weeks. The ACCT conference is going to be October 23rd through 26th in Seattle. Four of the trustees will be attending that along with myself and Dr. Bornstein. I do have a 2-pager with detailed information that I'll be emailing out to everyone as soon as we update some information on the website for ACCT. So I'm still waiting on that. But as soon as that happens, I will get this 2-pager form completed and emailed out to you. That form is going to include contact information for everybody attending, as well as detailed information for flights, so that way everybody knows when everybody will be arriving and leaving. It also includes the address for the hotel, which is downtown in Seattle. And it also includes some information on who will be attending pre-Congress academies. So far, Janine, I think, is the only trustee who will be attending one of those. And it also includes some information about voting. So every attendee institution has a voting delegate that can attend their voting meetings. Our chair is always usually that person. So Marilyn, I have you listed for that. Details again on that report will be included in the 2-pager that I send out. We'll also be having dinner as a group one of the evenings there. So Thursday night while we were there on the 24th, we have reservations for a restaurant there on the water. So more information again on that will be in the 2-pager that I sent out. Any questions about upcoming conference?
Thank you for organizing.
Of course.
Great. Next up, our CEO President report with Dr. Russ Ruthner.
Thank you, Chair Schock. For the first item, the Academic Master Plan report, I'd like to invite Dr. David Ayler, our Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Rothmer. Chair Schock, board, cabinet members, guests, here today to talk about the Academic Affairs Master Plan. And first, there we go. I want to start by referencing back to last year's report, things that we said we were going to do over the past year, and we have accomplished many of those things. We have formed some cross-functional teams. We have regular meetings between academic affairs and SACE, and we have a bridge committee that's working on projects together, so that's quite productive and moving along nicely. We interact with the Faculty Association and the Adjunct Faculty Committee.
at their regular meetings and with some of their executive meetings. We have meetings with representatives from the Student Government Association, and we hold regular cabinet, individual one-on-one cabinet meetings throughout the month. And so we have a lot of cross-functional work going on, which is helping to integrate what we want to do with what other people want and need to do across the college. We're continuing to meet with individuals, department chairs, committee leaders, faculty in general, staff in academic affairs, just to develop relationships and to get to know people one-on-one. And we did some work this past year on looking at all of the committees and subcommittees and how those relate to each other, making sure that we didn't have unnecessary duplication and that committees knew where they were to report, so that we're leveraging all of the work that everybody's doing and making use of all of that effort. This slide, is talk a little bit about our short-term priorities. You have asked over the past year and a half that I've been here for me to be looking at priorities and sharing with you what those priorities are. The next major priority that we'll be bringing forward is looking at expanded programming at the Fort Lupton campus. And so this is a list of areas that we're researching and prioritizing. There are various offerings through allied health programming, the commercial driver's license program, general education that supports all of the different degrees and certificates, large animal veterinary technician, welding, and then some other CTE areas. The population around Fort Lupton is growing. It's we believe, one of the fastest growing areas around our service area. And so our challenge has been to try to figure out, as population grows, what do we think they're going to need for programming? So that's what we're working on, is trying to project and estimate correctly so that we put the right programs down there, and so that we have facilities that are flexible, that as the needs change, we can adapt and do things that people in that area need. This is an example of some of the background planning that we do. This is last spring's academic course schedule. And what we're doing in this chart here is we have each room as a column, and then we have times that are going across as rows, and we're plotting where do we have courses scheduled. And so we're looking to see how well are we using the existing facilities, where are there gaps. This is a really condensed view, so it's hard to see, but I'll just share a little bit. The first two columns are the community event room down there, which is split into two rooms, or you can open it up as one. So that's an area that we try to keep open for community events, but you can see there's one class that is scheduled in there. Then we have CDL space, science lab, agriculture classroom, welding area. Welding is pretty blocked throughout the day. Ag production. And then in the other building, we have a couple of general classrooms, a GED space, 3 more general classrooms, a science lab. That's the blue and red one. I'm over to that one now. Then a couple generals, and then some med prep spaces there. So in the fall, it's usually more full than this. We pull the spring one to insert, just to give you an example of the kind of analysis that we're doing. With the vet tech proposal that we brought forward, as an example, I had Amy McFarland go through and look and make sure for all of the courses that would be offered in that program, where would we offer those? Can we sequence them? Does it fit in around the other classes, or do we need to move things? And so where do we need new space? Where can we use existing space? So back to, I think it's This one, we're looking at all of these areas. Part of what we're looking at is where would we do the offerings if we were to offer all of these areas, and are there any specialized facilities that are needed? So this is some of the background on that. Then this slide is looking ahead the next 5 to 7 years, so a little bit longer term. And so we're looking at expanded program possibilities that we may want to begin to offer down there. We're looking at program review and viability, which is actually the next item on the agenda, so you get a whole separate report on that in a few minutes. And partnership opportunities. So we're looking for Weld and Larimer County partnerships with sector organizations, businesses, communities, and then high school partnerships. I mentioned when we were talking about the diesel automotive diesel program, partnering with Severance High School. That could be a model for us to partner with other high schools where we do a lot of concurrent enrollment, and the high schools and career academies and such are always looking to partner with each other to leverage their resources. So we're exploring how we can interface with them and better serve that population and meet the community needs and the student needs. So that's the little bit longer view. And that is my report for this month. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Ayler, as you mentioned just a second ago, you have the academic program feasibility review and viability report.
Yes, and I'm going to invite Dr. Andrea DeCosmo to come up and give this report. And so, Dr. DeCosmo.
Thank you, Dr. Ayler. Good afternoon, Chair Schock, trustees, Dr. Rothamer, cabinet, and colleagues. It's my pleasure to present to you our semi-annual update on program feasibility and program review. And we're going to wait for the presentation to get loaded. While that's happening, I can let you know that today's presentation will have those two distinct components. So the first part of the presentation will include programs that we're currently researching or implementing, as well as those potential programs that we've considered. And then part two of the update will include the review of our existing academic programs. Thank you so much. So let's hop into program feasibility. So when a new idea for a new program comes forward, and those ideas can come forward from lots of different sources, but when those new ideas come forward, they are sent to our CTE program manager. His name is Landon Lloyd, and Landon runs what is called a feasibility inquiry using a jobs database called Lightcast. And what we do is we look at information about the jobs that that particular program could lead to. And we look at things like what are the starting salaries of those jobs, what are the median salaries of those jobs, how many jobs are available in our region, what kind of a degree or certificate is needed to enter into those positions. And we put all of that information together into a report, and we give that report to the dean and the chair or the program director of the department that would probably house that program if it were to move forward. And after some discussions, it is decided if the program will maybe not continue at that time. So we will decide to not pursue it at that time, or we might decide to continue pursuing it. If we do decide to continue pursuing it, would next enter into what we would call a research phase. And that is where Dr. Ayler would be brought into the conversation. We might start getting some initial informal approvals from academic affairs leadership. After that, it goes into a more formal implementation phase where we would get some of those formal approvals from our curriculum committee or from the Board of Trustees. And then it goes on to the state and HLC from there. We may also start to develop course curriculum at that point. And then after all those approvals are granted, we can start offering the course. So this is a table that shows all of the programs that have been considered since the last update that took place last April. So there are 3 programs on the list that we are currently thinking about and researching. One of them is the Engineering Bachelor of Applied Science degree. Again, that's what the BAS stands for, Bachelor of Applied Science. Gosh, the job outlook is great for an engineering bachelor's degree. However, the bachelor's landscape can still be a little tricky at community colleges, and we already have a really strong articulation partnership with the Colorado School of Mines. We have an Associate of Engineering Science degree that articulates really nicely to mines. So we're still thinking about this one. Colorado Medication Aid is in the research phase. That position or that career would come in at a little bit higher salary than our nurse aid program. We do have some non-credit offerings right now that we're thinking about maybe moving to the credit-bearing side. And then golf course management, the feasibility inquiry data shows us that there aren't a lot of jobs in golf course management in our area. However, there's only one other institution in the state that offers golf course management, and that school is all the way down in Colorado Springs. So if we were to move forward with this, we would be one of 2 schools in the state to offer something, but we want to be really careful to not offer a program that wouldn't lead to gainful employment. So that one we're still thinking about as well, and we'll be able to give you updates on those 3 at the next update in the spring. This next table shows all of the programs that were presented to you last April as being in the research phase. So you'll notice one of those, the Forward Asset Program, we are now offering that program. I think we have 18 students in that program, 14 students in the program right now. The acute care nurse aid program, the board has already approved. So thank you for your support on that. That one is going through approvals at the state and HLC right now. And then the other 3, we are still researching. And then this table shows the programs that were in the inquiry pipeline prior to the April 24 update. And so 3 of those programs may look familiar to you from this morning's work session. So airframe and power plant, medical billing and coding, and fundamental diesel certificates were all presented to you this morning. The others are in the research phase. And again, we'll be able to provide updates for you on all of those at the spring 2025 update. So let's transition over now to program review. This is a review of our currently existing academic programs. The program review, basically, it's a process where we collect data, we analyze data, and we use that data to help us make decisions about our programs, to help us celebrate what's going well with our programs, to help us set goals, to identify needs, and also to help us to identify places in our programs where we might need to make some improvements. Really, the overarching purpose of program review is continuous improvement. We want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to offer the best programs possible for our students and our graduates and our community. We have about 65 programs that we review every year. The process involves a lot of people and a lot of steps. And again, the process starts with data. We prepare data and give it to the chairs and the program directors. And we also distribute that year's program review questions. They take the data and lead conversations with their departments about their programs. They answer the program review questions in narrative form, send those on to the dean. The dean might have some clarifying questions or need some additional information, but at some point, the dean approves the program review narrative that was submitted, and then it moves on from there. There are other members of the academic affairs leadership team, such as myself, Dr. Spezza, Dr. Ayler, other members of academic affairs leadership that review the program review narratives. And then new this year, so this is an exciting update to the process, when Dr. B returns from her sabbatical, this spring semester, she and Dr. Ayler and the deans are going to meet with every department and go over their program review goals and needs. So that's going to be an exciting addition to the process. And the process kicks off in July. And with this new edition, it will probably end in April. So it's about a 9-month process. And I wanted to share an update on our program review questions because we made a little bit of a change this year that we think is a positive change. Last year, we had 13 program review questions that every single department answered every single question. And at the end of the process, we always ask for feedback on how the process went and if there's anything we could do differently to make the process more meaningful. And we were told that those 13 questions felt a little maybe disconnected, or maybe not every question applied to every program. So this year, we revamped the questions. We organized them into 4 themes. And the themes are student success, supporting student completion, program health, and program evaluation and goals. And within each of those 4 themes, there's a menu of questions that departments can choose to answer based on the unique needs of those departments. And we're hoping that that's making the process more flexible and more meaningful to each of the departments. And it helps, I think, also for CTE programs and the Gen Ed programs to really see themselves in the process as well. Another very exciting update to the process this year. So prior to this year, we gave the program review data to the chairs and the program directors. And it was on a PDF. We called it a data dashboard, and it was prescribed data. Everyone got the same program review dashboard. Well, it had different data on it. It had the data on it that pertained to their department. But the dashboard looked the same for everyone. And what we heard from the chairs and the program directors was, you know, this data is really useful. And we would also love the ability to customize some of the data for what we want to know about. So some departments really wanted to look at maybe 5-year enrollment trends. Other departments maybe wanted to look at their success data disaggregated by race or ethnicity or gender. Other departments maybe wanted to look at course progression. So they may want to look at student success and retention from college algebra to pre-calc to Calc 1 to Calc 2. And we couldn't really do that with this kind of one-size-fits-all data that we were giving to the departments. So this took a couple of years to put together, but we were finally ready to roll it out this year. What we did, our academic affairs functional analyst, her name is Judy Eaton, she created some reports for us to use so that we can now actually go into our data warehouse, which is called Tableau, and we have access and the ability and the knowledge to now go into that data warehouse and grab the unique data that each department would like for their own program review. So we have made it customizable, and we have made it, I think, a lot more flexible for all of the departments. And it's just a really exciting update, I think, to the process. We also this year made our CLO assessment results available at the department level. And we also made last year's program review narratives available to, excuse me, I feel like I'm going to cough. Last year's program review narratives available to the departments for this year, pardon me. I have water over at my chair. I can, I think I might be okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. We made last year's program review narratives available so that this year they can connect this year's narrative to what was written and describe last year. So it doesn't feel like a siloed process. It feels more like a continuous process with a lot of nice flow to it. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. One more slide. So with all those changes, we needed to adjust the kind of support that we're giving to the chairs and the program directors to engage in the process. So this year's program review kickoff contained a lot of training. We included instructional videos for using Tableau to go in and get data that we need. We created a program review portal so that the chairs and the program directors can see those instructional videos They can get some additional assistance through some office hours that our functional analyst has scheduled. And I think the support is hopefully matching the new level of availability that we have to go in and get the data that the chairs and the program directors want to get. And so before I take questions, I just want to take a minute to really thank and appreciate all of those who are involved in both the program inquiry, feasibility process, and the program review process. And that concludes the report, and I'll take any questions that you might have. And thank you again for the bottle of water.
I have a quick question, and maybe this isn't the appropriate time to ask about it, but you listed one of the potential programs as the Colorado Medication Assistant. Is that a replacement for the pharmacy tech program, or?
No, it's my understanding that it's more closely tied to the nurse aid program, that it's a higher level of nurse aid it would be between a nurse aid and like an LPN. So it's a nurse aide who has the ability to dispense medications.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, would not replace pharmacy tech.
Really good presentation. It's always exciting to see what you're looking at and what might make the cut, but may not, and everything that you have to do. That whole process is amazing. But I'm really excited. I mean, this sounds about the fact that you're able to customize that department data, because that's huge. I mean, people can really look at what they're trying to figure out what their goal is, and you have the data at their fingertips. So thank you for doing that, whoever did it. So.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, and I have to give the credit to our functional analyst. Yeah, Judy Eaton is amazing, and she spent many months creating reports and training so that we now we know how to go in and get the data. It reminds me of that adage: if you give someone a fish, they eat for a day, and if you teach them how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. We were giving people a fish, we were giving them data, which was useful, but I think a lot more useful would be, teaching folks how to go in and grab the data that they want and need. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments, John?
You did a great job, and we greatly appreciate it. One of the things that I know all the trustees believe is that Ames' ability to adjust and modify for the needs of the student is really, really important. And so by looking at all these different programs, you should all be very proud of yourselves, because it's students first. And I think that that's great. And then the evaluation component for ourselves is great. But are there outside entities that come into Ames to review our programs? And I don't know the answer to this, but I mean, do we have, besides the FAA, I think Derek was talking about, are there other groups that come in to look at our programs?
Many of our CTE programs have programmatic accreditation. So our nursing program has, their own accreditation. Automotive has its own accreditation, and many of our CTE programs do. And that is something that the programmatic accreditors do, is that they all come in for site visits. They want to see curriculum maps. They want to see how our curriculum is tied to requirements that they have in their programs. They actually come to campus to see our facilities and talk to our students and our faculty. So yes, many of our CTE programs have that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're good. Thank you so much for your energy, Dr. DeCosmo. I told you this last time when we went through some of the CLO and pieces. It's just exciting, but it's exciting because you guys are putting so much energy. So thank you.
Yeah, it is very exciting. Thank you so much. And I apologize again for my little coughing fit, and thanks again for the water.
Right. The next item on the agenda is the institutional research and core measures report. So if Laura will join me up the podium, on stay here. And while Laura's getting set and we're getting our information up on the screen, one of the things I shared in your packet, and if I can maybe play off a little bit of what Dr. DeCosmo shared and what they were able to do in academic affairs with the program review process. And Mike, if you do the next slide, please. Thank you. if you liked what we were doing for academic affairs and providing information, I'm really excited to share with you our new robust and enhanced process for what we're affectionately calling our IR 2.0. And what on the slide that those of you in the audience and Zoom land see, and what's in your packets is the aims, and what it stands for is Institutional Research as a Service 2.0, and this is the timeline that we've started this year. Because one of the things that really kicked this off is, as the college was going through over the last year of looking at creating our new strategic plan and implementing it, so much of that plan was going to be reliant on having good data, actionable data. And we were talking as a team, as a cabinet across the institution, how are we going to meet that need? Because it was a heavy lift. And the way that we were currently set up and the great work that our IR team was doing, we had a couple hundred reports that we were putting out throughout the year, and a lot of that was manually. And so one of the things that we started talking about is, how do we automate those reports so that we can give our data scientists, like Laura, an opportunity to get out from, pulling all this information together. And many of us that like data enjoy doing some of that, but it's more fun to tear it apart and do something with it. And really, that's kind of the process we wanted to set up of how we do that, not only for our IR team, but really, how do we democratize this data across the whole organization? And just like Dr. Cosmo was saying that we're doing that for our program areas, how do we do that for everybody in college that needs to make decisions, work with data, work with students, support fellow employees? So one of the things that we came up with working with one of our vendors, Campus Works, created a timeline and process that we are going to be able to, in this next year, fiscal year, by spring 2025, automate those couple hundred reports, do some real specialized reporting, and then get that information out to everyone. And literally creating a large language model to democratize the data so that anybody that has questions about serving their students or data in their area, that they'll be able to, with help with team members like Laura and others, how to refine that question, prompt, get those answers, and be able to use that data. The other thing that we were doing, and we did a lot of it, a lot of the information that we had was lagging indicators. So you'd get a report, say, well, what was the retention last year? Oh, it was X%. Well, what can we do to impact last year? Not a lot. So we can take that, maybe think, well, if we did this, we might change it this way. But what's included in this process is we're going to be able to do some predictive analytics. So instead of waiting for those lagging indicator reports to come out, we'll get some reports to show, here are some potential outcomes if X, Y, and Z are happening. This might happen with Russ as a student. So therefore, we can do things potentially before it happens to engage that student to be able to help improve those numbers. And we're really looking at making this, again, available institution-wide and having that opportunity to better serve our students. That's really what we're doing, and for our teams. And if you look at the different timeframes up here, you'll see some of the different reports. So for example, the other thing I just want to highlight, and for those of you that were able to join us on the morning of Convocation Day, that was really exciting. We had our students there and said, here's, really why we're here, right? Then in the afternoon, one of the things that we wanted to do, because you've also mentioned to the team as we presented things, you all do a lot. We often talk about, the work and things that we have. And so when we started talking about doing this initiative, they said, oh, here's another thing we're adding on top of everything that we're doing with the strategic plan. But in reality, this is in support of the strategic plan and really will enable us to do all of these things that we've said we want to do in a strategic plan successfully. So one of the things that we prepared and shared with all the teams on the afternoon of Convocation Days, we did a crosswalk with a strategic plan, all of those initiatives, and everything that's part of this IR 2.0 initiative and how it supports what we're doing. And so we really have, right, if it's this initiative, these are the reports and things that are going to help us do this more effectively. So this is going to be an extremely busy year, but a very exciting year in terms of providing information and data for our teams. And I'm going to set the bar pretty high for myself and the team, and look behind me at my friend Zach, who does that amazing report at the end of the year about Marcom, and he has all those great graphs and tell these stories. Well, next year at this time, when we're talking about this, we're hoping to be able to show you these different reports and predictive analytics, but most importantly, the things we were able to do with that. So that's kind of where we are and what we're doing with institutional research and assessment 2.0 now. And the other part of the report, Laura is going to talk about our core measures report.
Good afternoon. So the report that we're looking at here, our operational dashboard for the core measures, I'm going to be talking about three primary areas: the access, retention, and completion columns. Those are the kind of student-focused areas that you haven't already heard about, because I understand the learning outcomes you heard about last month. So the first column is a representation of our student population for the 23-24 academic year compared to the previous 3 years average. So as you can see, we were up by about 10%, a little over 10% compared to that 3-year average. So yay us. To continue in that celebratory theme, we were actually at our highest that we've been since the pandemic, and in fact, the highest that we've been since the quarter to semester transition clear back in 2004-2005. So we're seeing some real recovery from the pandemic. This is, on the other hand, primarily being driven by growth in our high school concurrent program. That in 23-24 was 28% higher than the previous 3 years average. So we're seeing some real growth in that over the last couple of years, and that growth is continuing this fall. High school concurrents now make up almost 44% of the total student population, which is a big chunk. The retention column I want to talk about just briefly. This measures the percentage of students who entered in the 22-23 year who remained enrolled or had earned a degree or certificate during the time of that year in 23-24. So one of the things about the core measures report that's really nice is that when we click into things, we can drill down. And I want to give kudos to one of our data people in our office who helped put this together, Hiroko Ishimaru. She helped put all of this together, which is a pretty impressive feat if you have any idea how data science works. One of the nice things is we can drill down into demographics and see some of the detail behind these numbers. So our retention rate, 50.76, is almost identical to the previous three years. So that doesn't really tell us much of a story. But when you start digging into the demographic differences, one group is worth noting. Our first generation students retained at a lower rate than the average at 48.74%, while non-first generation students outperformed that average at 54.1%. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that here in a moment, because I want to compare that to the completion percentages. The next column measures the percentage of students entering in 2021 who earned a degree or certificate within 150% of the normal time to completion, which we use at the federal level. They define that as 3 years for an associate's degree. That overall rate is about 5.98% higher than the previous 3 years average, so that's good. We're improving a little bit on that completion rate. When we drill into the demographics, though, it gets interesting again. The first generation students perform better than the non-first generation students. First gen were at 39.89 for that entering group in 2021, while non-first gen were at 32.89%. So what we're seeing here is that if you get those first gen students past that first year hurdle, they actually tend to complete those degrees at a higher rate than our non-first gen students. It's also worth noting that the most recent entering class that we have data for the completion rates entered at the peak of the pandemic in that 2021 academic year. So that completion rate is actually pretty impressive. We had actually expected that to be a little bit lower than that. So congrats to that class. They deserve kudos. So that completes the gist of my presentation. Do you have any questions about any of this information?
A lot of data.
I threw a lot
Just
at you.
knowing to mine that type of data and put it into some sort of report. Any comments or questions? Trustee Wendell?
Well done.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad I didn't have to do it. The one thing that just popped out in my mind is about the first generation students, that if you keep them in school, the retention rate for that first year, then they seem to complete higher than the ones that aren't first generation. So it seems to me that if we can offer them more support or have some type of additional support, I mean, we're amazing, but it seems like that's where the trick is, and that's where your data tends to figure out where we can improve.
Certainly. And it may not be a matter of offering more or different programs. It may be a matter of tracking people into existing programs.
Right.
Sometimes for the first generation students, it's actually getting them plugged into things that we do have available because they simply don't know to ask. And so we have to work a little harder to get that available to them.
Well done, amazing.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
And now's the time in the President's report. I'd like to invite any supervisors that would like to introduce new team members up to the podium, please.
So I would like to introduce to you Ross Atkinson. Ross comes to us, he's actually a doctoral candidate at Colorado State University. Ross himself is Army, correct? Yes. A veteran of the Army, having served in Afghanistan, and he has joined the college as our new Veterans Student Success Coach. So he will be working alongside a familiar face to you all, Jared Polito, who we've hired as our contingent worker to serve our student veterans on campus. So welcome to Ross.
Thank you, Dr. Kowalski. Chair Schock, that appears to conclude the President's report.
Thank you very much. Well, we're down to the reflections or comments, accolades. Does any of you have any comments regarding meetings or future topics? Also a great time if you have any shout outs or accolades.
So once you're on the board, you do have your friends and people who don't even know that have opinions, right? That sometimes share information. I just have a great story. And so it's about a first generation student that apparently, just started out of state, not very many connections at all, and in construction management. And so I happen to know his girlfriend's grandmother. And I don't know if it's questions that are asked of the students that then trigger, or is it that our faculty has great radar, but apparently all the difference in the world has been made for someone that probably, didn't have a chance to look like he might even succeed in the first month, and apparently is doing very, very well, and it's because of the staff in construction management. So just a great story. And I know that it's not just in that program, but I know it's happening, in multiple programs. It's very evident that I love the data, but I also love the heart stories. And I think that it really shows that in all the departments, we have people that are really sensitive to the needs of the students. So just a shout out to everybody.
Thank you for sharing, Trustee Wendell. Along with what Janine said, it's Tabaya, our student, and that's why you're all here, and it's the why, and we keep coming back to that. And it's you guys paying attention to the students and making sure that if they're down, you're there to build them back up and continue. So really appreciate everyone's work, and I'm super excited about your data that you're this will be exciting to see what happens. So thank you. Anybody else? We'll do a quick assessment of the board. as we're reaching the end of the meeting, we always take a moment for self-assessment because we value accountability. Any of you have any other feedback about things that need to change, improve, or that you'd like to see? Okay, with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.